Hey Miguel, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, well, it's going good. And so, were you just at in London? And are you still there? And what have you been up to? Just in the last, maybe give us a snapshot of the last week, so we can kind of get used to your what it's like to be you.
Yeah, so last week was actually not a great example of what it's like to be me, because I'm usually just like here chilling in my room coding all day. Last week I
Yeah,
actually went to London to visit my friends at Abe, and so I spent the whole week on their office and stuff. So not representative,
amazing.
but still was a lot of fun.
Cool. That's really exciting. And so, I wonder, maybe zooming out to like this point where you're in London partying with the Ave crew to like way back to the beginning of your Web3 journey. What are some of the dots that really stick out to you that you feel have connected that have kind of led you to this point when you're thinking about your Web3 journey?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, I somehow stumbled upon HTML 10 years ago. So that's
Wow.
like probably the first point.
Yes.
Um, After that, I just like started building stuff and trying to launch
Mhm.
stuff for a while. Then skipping a bit ahead, on around February of this year, I joined crypto. I
Wow.
had I had like heard about crypto for a while now. I have read the Bitcoin white paper and all those things. I had never
Hmm.
really looked into it because from the outside it kind of looks like people just like buying and selling coins and nothing
Yes,
else. And
totally.
to me, at least, that's like not really that attractive. But
Hmm.
it turned out this week in particular, everyone in my Twitter feed started talking about NFTs at the same time. Especially all the people that I knew from this Gen Z Mafia community, they all
Hmm.
started tweeting about NFTs this weekend. And there were a bunch of people who just like randomly started putting cabbage emojis on their Twitter username and were
Okay.
trying to sell video of a 3D cabbage on a place called Foundation as an NFT.
Hmm.
And so I thought this was really funny. I like those kinds of things. So I joined their public channel, and one of the members of this group of people who call themselves Tech Optimist got me into the group, and I started helping them with, actually at the start, 3D cabbages. I wasn't coding; I was just like making 3D cabbages, and that
Wow. I
was really
feel like
fun.
I feel
Yeah.
like just like 3D creation, like art creation, isn't something that you can just pick up. But maybe you do just pick, like, I feel for you, maybe you're a special case of the kind of person that just picks something up. But how long had you been kind of like creating art in like 3D
Yeah,
illustration?
so at that point, around a week and a little bit more, like
Okay.
I had played a little bit with Blender this summer before, like a week,
Hmm.
and then I gave it up because I got bored, I guess. And so just after this week, just before this NFT weekend, I
Hmm.
decided everyone in my feed seems to be like doing really cool things lately. Let
Hmm.
me also try to make cool things, and so I picked it up again. And it turned out that a friend created a group of like also other people who were also trying to pick this up,
Yeah.
just so that we could all share what we were doing. And it turned out one of the people from the Cabbage group, Paris,
Hmm.
was also in that group accidentally. I don't know how she got there, but she was in there. And so she kind of brought me in to help with the Cabbage stuff. And and in this group there were like really really cool people. Like there was Paris, there was Alex, basically a bunch of people that have gone to work with for Rainbow, Ave, Sora, really really cool people. And so with the help of all those people, I just like got more into crypto. They helped me with like answering my questions and telling me how to look, and I ended up working for one of them, Alex, who started Showtime, and I was the first employee there.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so February, I feel like February, March was a wonderful time and kind of a wonderful moment in time where a lot of people came back into Web3 through NFTs in particular, because I have like a similar story where an artist that I follow on Twitter posted about an NFT being released on Foundation. And the moment I saw that on my Twitter feed, I was like, oh, this is really exciting. I get it. And then for me, it unlocked this key between the difference between Web3 and like crypto, kind of what you were talking about, the tokens and things like that, and buying and selling and things like that. So that's really exciting. So I feel like the space of time between February and October, I mean, in general, I feel like time is crazy in crypto, but for you in particular, I wonder if I could just learn more about how you work in terms of how you learn things and how you follow your curiosities, because I feel like getting into HTML at the age of like 10, is it like 9? Okay, yeah. I feel like that sort of thing it must be built into you, right? This kind of curiosity and ability to learn. And so I'd love to know just how your brain works and like what interests you, and then how you actually go about learning something, because I feel like you're so deep into Web3 that it'd be really interesting to know.
Yeah, so I mean, the short answer is like chaos, but that doesn't really answer any question. I feel like there's also like a trick here where I feel like it may seem like on the interwebs, like I achieve and I learn so much more than everyone else, just because like I have developed this practice throughout the years of just like sharing in real time everything that I'm learning and building, whereas other people may just like stay silent for a week while they're building where they're learning on building something, and then launch it at the end. And I just like continually tweet about what I learned today, what I built today. And some people may think like, oh, this thing that he just tweeted, I didn't know that, and like he must be an expert on that. And I literally just like saw that somewhere this week. So there's like a little bit of a trick there. But other than that, my approach is to just dive into it like head first. I try to start a project that uses whatever I'm trying to build, and then just like try to debug my way to getting the thing working.
Yeah, well, I love project-based learning. I feel like it's so effective for creating context. And so in terms of projects that you've been really inspired by in Web3, especially in the NFT space and with what you're learning about, I wonder if there's anything that really resonates with you that you've seen in the last couple of months that you just thought, wow, this is exactly why I'm here to like be in this community and witness this.
Yeah, I'll share a few. First of all, Mirror, the Mirror publishing platform. That was actually kind of what inspired my first ever project into the space, which was just like a Mirror alternative frontend. Like my Mirror blog, instead of being at like miguel.mirror.xyz like everyone else is, it's just at miguelpf.blog. And it has like a custom frontend that just like reads from the decentralized data store that Mirror uses. And so that was actually like the first ever kind of crypto app that I made, just figuring out how this decentralized thing worked and how to read data from that and stuff. And I've been like really following the process. I actually wanted to get hired by them at first because they were building really, really cool stuff. And I feel like it's a perfect example of building an app where you don't just like say, we're going to take this Web2 things and we're going to rebuild it in Web3, but actually like building Web3 first and rethinking stuff. Other than that, I've just like started getting into DeFi, but one of the things that like crypto appealed me at first was Pull Together, just because it's like a really, really simple concept that doesn't feel like could be built anywhere else but Web3. Like people are often saying, okay, so cryptocurrency is cool, but like what can you do with it that you can do somewhere else? And I feel like Pull Together is a great example of something that you probably couldn't like practically do anywhere else but in crypto. And it's also like really, really a really cool idea. Like you can tell someone, so it's a lottery that you can lose. And I feel like that's like a really powerful way to get them to learn a little bit more.
Yeah. And then I was just going to say, I just saw your like pet project and how you just released it, and I think you mentioned that you were inspired by Dom. So how has that kind of been here for that craze, kind of loot and everything Dom related?
So just like after loot, like the loot thing is another whole story, but just after Loot, Dom released this crypto pet thing where it was just like a smart contract that acted like a pet, and anyone could like feed it, just like take care of it in general. Which I think the first version died in like 10 minutes or so, and so he had to deploy a second one. But I saw that and I literally said like, I'm not sleeping tonight. I'm going to build something with this before someone beats me to it. I feel like I just like tweeted fuck sleep, let's build something with this and build it. Just like said like, okay, so this is cool. Let's like wrap it in NFTs so that anyone can have their own pet, and then let's make like a really really cool front end around it. And I spent that whole night making like a themed website, which by the way is on onchain.pet, which is the sickest domain I've ever seen. But yeah,
That's awesome.
and try to make it like as user friendly as possible. If you don't have a wallet, you can just like click login with Twitter and it will generate a wallet for you. You don't have to pay for any gas at all.
Wow.
I even like got a friend to make some pixel art for it. And also there's an app now for iOS.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So yeah, I just like tried to make this really really cool thing, and that actually was like really inspiring. Because before that, I had seen like Axie and I had seen Dark Forest, but for me, crypto games were like a really complex thing in a way, like a thing that you had to build a whole ecosystem for it. And this thing is a game which is on a smart contract, which I doubt is like more than 100 or 200 lines of code. And it's like the MVP of a game, really, really, really simple mechanics, and you can just like make that, deploy that, and you're done. That's it.
Yeah.
And that was like really eye-opening to think like, what other games allow you to do this? Because like, and I feel like going a little bit overboarding here, I have been thinking about like crypto games a lot, and I feel like the standard is just like so low. Like, I'm not sure if you know this game Nintendogs that came from the Nintendo DS a bunch of years ago.
No, I don't. I don't think I had did I have a Nintendo? Are they the see-through ones? No, I'm definitely not a gamer at all, so please like give me context.
Yeah, it was like this game for the Nintendo DS that when it came, it was just like you had a dog that you could adopt and then you like took care of it. It was like a 3D Nintendo style. Then you could like play Frisbee with it and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I feel like, at least except like Axie and now Treeverse is starting to like gain some traction, but outside of those, there are not really like proper games. It's just like websites in a trench coat pretending to be games in a way. And this Tamagotchi pet thing, which is right now also website and an app, you could just like the contract is just the backend. You can get as creative as you want with the front end. You could have a front end which is just actually like a Unity game with 3D models, cutscenes while you wait for the transition to load. Like you could make this into a game that you would never think was powered by the blockchain. And I really haven't seen that much people working on something like that, and I want to do something like that at some point because it seems like, like I'm not game designer. I've been like learning Unity a little bit on the side so that I can do stuff like this, but I'm definitely not a pro. So the idea is just like to make a really really trashy prototype of this so that someone else can like that actually knows this thing can like go ahead and say, okay, so I'll take it from here. So that's like one of the goals that I have. But yeah.
That's really exciting. I really have become more interested and honestly just aware of gaming in general as through a different lens, I think, in Web3, because I think about it one way when I think about kind of typical gaming like over the last couple of decades, but especially as a tool for onboarding, and then also in terms of game mechanics and game design, just thinking about incentives, which we all do a lot in Web3, and kind of thinking about everything as some sort of game in Web3. So I wonder, in terms of like this idea that things don't have to feel like a blockchain game, or like you don't have to feel like you're in Web3. It could just feel like every other kind of consumer game. I feel like this would unlock a lot of the bottleneck with onboarding. And so, and I know that this is kind of something that you think about a lot. And so in terms of onboarding, what in like your personal experience and then going into Web3, and then once you're in here and kind of considered to be seasoned, talking to your friends and family about it, like what are some things that kind of continue to come up that kind of plague your mind?
I mean, as in problems with onboarding, I feel like gas fees are like the number one issue that everyone has. I've been
Yeah.
building on Polygon for most of these things, which allow me to actually like pay for everyone's gas, which is like is still insanely cheap. For the pet thing, I think there's been like 24K transactions to date, and I'm like
Wow.
paying for gas of all of those, and it's been like $150,
Wow.
which is like really really cheap.
Yeah.
So that's like a solution, but then like for whatever reason, no one really wants to move to Polygon. I made like a few kind of hacky things so that, for the pet thing where you can just like connect with MetaMask and you don't have to like switch your RPC or everything. Just because apparently that's something that is possible, but no one is doing. Um, but yeah, in general, I feel like gas fees are number one. Number two is just like people are scared of the blockchain, like normies. They don't
Yeah.
really like it. Sounds complicated. It sounds related to money. People don't like doing money things. Like I feel like this is kind of the same issue that Venmo kind of had, where like they were like, this
Right.
is really revolutionary, having like a social network that is just like your transaction list with all your friends. And it turns out no one really cares about that. People are protective of their finances, and people don't like doing stuff that is related to money if they can avoid it. And so I feel like blockchains have this kind of association at this point where there are not like giant databases, they are just like more than that. And so people may be scared to use them like that. I still like get really really scared every time that I have to click sign or send transaction to like a naked address. So I
Totally.
feel like that's also like maybe an education problem, but still something we need like better wallets. We need better flows of interacting with the chain in ways that are not frightening. Like if you go to buy a shirt on Shopify, you don't like get a pop-up from your bank app that says like, do you want to send this? Do you want to like send this transaction at a bunch of money? And it shows you the ID of the account that is going to. No, you just like get a picture of a shirt, and then you click Apple Pay.
Yeah.
That's the Face ID thing, and it's done. Like
Right.
there's still like a big disconnect between what you are doing and what your wallet shows, which is even for like Rainbow, which they are particularly good at this. I really like Rainbow, but I feel like there's still like no one is showing what details of what you are doing on the wallet, which I guess makes sense because like spam, and we'll have to figure out a middle ground between allowing people to customize a little bit the prompt and not allowing a scammer to just like scam people using that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like there's like a big gap in there where it's really, really scary to do anything with involving blockchain, especially because you have money in there. Usually, not money that you would like to lose. And if you have no idea what a signature is or what all those numbers mean, that's not a button that you want to press. And yeah, I feel like those are the main things. Just like gas fees and people not really like blockchains not really like blockchains are a protocol for protocols, right? They are not meant for direct user interaction. And still we
Right.
have forced everyone to interact with them directly. So
Yes.
like
I
yeah.
think about this. Yeah, I think about this a lot, just like the levels of abstraction, because before I kind of understood the idea of the decentralized web, it's not like I had a deep understanding as just an internet consumer of like how databases and servers worked. And so, like, you wouldn't expect like anyone going on like a news site or a social media site to understand what is happening in terms of the tech stack of the website. Yet we kind of expect that of people in blockchain, that even normies, new people coming into the space, we're like, this is the architecture of what a blockchain looks like. I'm like, I should never have to see this visual or this graph. I should just be able to log into a site or an app and for it to feel like a very consumer friendly thing. So I wonder, in terms of the people coming into the space, just in your life and in this last kind of 12 months that you've experienced, are there kind of people that you're really excited to see in the space, or people that you would you're kind of actively trying to maybe lure or bring into the space because you think that the space needs them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always on like a crypto pill speedrun, trying to get to see how many people I can get in the least amount of time. I tried to get a bunch of my artist friends and actually managed to move a bunch when Showtime, my company, launched like completely free
Mhm.
minting, no gas, no everything.
Wow.
Um, then just like I feel 2 weeks ago, I just like got a shit ton of ENS domains of all the people that
Okay.
I followed and admire for like years to try to get them to at least accept the transfer and download Rainbow and onboard a little bit into Web3. I've
Hmm.
been trying to get every dev friend that I know to look into Web3 and NFTs. So yeah, I'm trying
Yeah.
as hard as I can to get everyone into Web3 with various degrees of success. We'll see. I'm planning on hopefully writing an article about like what ENS is and how what all this thing is, and try to send it to all the people that I got the ENS domains for, and try to get a few to claim. So that will be fun.
Amazing.
And yeah, just in general, trying to figure out ways of getting people excited about it. Because I feel like
Yeah.
you can, like, if you get really excited about it, like I did, you can just like keep innovating and bring something new to the space.
Hmm. Yeah. I wonder as well, just in terms of this idea of innovation. And so, how do you think about creativity and innovation as a coder and a builder? Because I feel like there is this idea of like what a developer is in Web 2, and the idea or like the archetype that I have in my mind of a Web 3 dev is quite different. And I feel like you exemplify that perfectly in terms of how creative and innovative and experimental you are. So, how do you think about that kind of piece of being a builder?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this has been something that I've been like thinking for a big while now, even before like joining crypto. I think I see myself more like as a code artisan than I feel like
Oh.
as an engineer. Like I'm not, but I think you have to have a title to be an engineer or whatever. But
Hmm.
I like to not only like make cool things, I like to even like design my code, make it cool to read, make it like beautiful in a way, which comes
Hmm.
from my where I started coding and all those things. So yeah, I feel like I just like to create. I think of something and I say like, oh, I have to go build this now, and so I go and I build it and I release it to the world, and that's about it. I don't really have a name for it, but I feel like it feels more of like an artist workflow than it does feel like as a developer workflow in a way.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting to me and something I would definitely be thinking about a lot more. Just this idea that everything in Web3 has a potential to have an artist workflow. And so I wonder, just in terms of, being Gen Z, and, it says in your bio that you're 19, and I feel like it is a real jaw dropper, especially when you scroll through your Twitter feed and you see all of your work because you're so prolific at building in public. So, how do you think kind of your generation, like for you, how does it feel to be in Web3 and be 19 and to be able to code and to feel like, um, you know, you're potentially like the best placed person in the world to make the most of this opportunity that we have with this technology?
I mean, first of all, like you know the Rari Capital teams,
Hmm.
so definitely not the best placed person right now.
Oh,
But I'm trying to get
I
there.
feel like
I'm
anyone
trying to
who's a
get
builder is
close.
like, yeah.
But no, probably not the reply or context switch that you're looking for. But it feels like really weird because it seems like most of my generation doesn't like really hates crypto and NFTs for now.
Oh,
Like I
really?
don't know if you've seen all of the every once in a while, probably more in my feed than in general,
Hmm.
surfaces a tweet where someone like either someone makes a joke about NFTs and it gets like the most amount of retweets I've ever seen of out of any joke,
Oh.
or some artist says like, "Hey, I'm going to be trying to do this NFT thing," and just like they get absolutely destroyed in the comments to the point where like
Wow.
they are actually like I saw people actually saying the other day like we should just guillotine all the NFT people. like I will not speak as to how serious it is because it obviously is in part a joke, but also it in part it isn't, and
Hmm.
it feels like really weird because I know part of it is like information asymmetry, and part of it is just like this is what my in-group hates, so I have to hate it as well,
Right.
and all those culture things. I do feel like once at some point one big platform will adopt it. Hopefully TikTok. They already launched their NFTs, and so like
Yeah.
there's a big issue there with like this whole content licensing thing and stuff. But still, I
Right.
feel like some big player at some point will integrate NFTs, and then they will just like eat the blame and normalize it for everyone else. Because you can cancel whatever artist you like, even if you really like them, but you cannot cancel TikTok.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like for now it's weird, and hopefully in a bunch of years, because like there's either the people who really get it or the people who either not get it or just like plain hate it. So
Yeah,
hopefully
that's really
in a few
interesting that
years we'll see that a little bit more normalized.
yeah, I feel as someone who's not Gen Z and kind of caught in the middle a little bit, maybe, like very excited and grateful to be around for Web3. And I thought, I guess I'm really surprised because I thought that the opportunities to create mechanisms that allow for kind of more ownership and skin in the game and distribution of lots of things would be really appealing to a generation that have grown up with the internet. But yeah, so that's really interesting culturally. I wonder as well. So if you had a friend and they slid into your DMs or text you after a while and they're like, "Hey Miguel, what's this crypto Web3 thing? What is like the step by step? What's your step by step playbook? Is it like send them to Rainbow by their ENS name, like send them an NFT?"
So it's funny because I did this a while ago with my ex. I literally just
Okay.
like sat them in front of a camera and we did a live stream where I just like talked about crypto for 3 hours or so. And I tried to explain everything from like how a blockchain works to how wallets work, what are
Right.
NFTs, the whole like technical stuff. Because I feel like most of that is probably not necessary. But for
Mm-hmm.
me, since it's like I understand how everything works under the hood, I feel like I wouldn't be completely done explaining something unless they also understand how everything works under the hood as well. Because that's how you don't get fished. How
Mm-hmm.
that's how you can protect yourself. That's how you are now prepared to actually not only consume this technology but be able to create with it, even if you're like not a coder or whatever. So I feel like I'm probably not the best person to teach anyone about crypto or NFTs just because I go way overboard and that may shut down some people. My ex thankfully did not leave in the middle of a stream and actually listen to me talk about technology for 3 hours. But some people might not do that. But yeah, I feel like there's probably to someone like what I'm going to do for the ENS domain guys will be
Mm-hmm.
probably to just like detail how to download Rainbow, and just like send me your address. I'll send you um, the ENS, then set up the whole reverse name thing, and then I'll
Yeah.
send you like some Miguel to make sure that you have set that up correctly. And so that way they get an NFT, they get the ENS, they get to understand what an ENSA is, they get some tokens,
Yeah.
after that, I guess they can go on Showtime and create an NFT for completely free if they want to like play with that. So I feel like that's if it's like a person who is like artist type, that's a pretty
Mm-hmm.
good onboarding. For friends that are devs, I just like try to get them to read some smart contract logic, because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
for simple, at least for NFT stuff, it's usually not that complex if you have worked with code before.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like try to. I guess the point is just to like get to a point where they see something that they are like intrigued or excited by,
Right.
just because like that's how you get them to actually go on their own afterwards and look more into it.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Yeah.
if that doesn't work, you can just use money as an incentive, but that's lame.
Yeah. I feel like this identity piece is really interesting and especially kind of launching your own social token and things like that. So I wonder what the journey to that looked like, and how you're thinking about that differently compared to maybe how people might think that you would deal with having your own named token.
Yeah, so first of all, none of this is investment advice. I would
Absolutely.
actually recommend against investing in this token because it's not an investment. Like I've been trying really hard to brand it as this is just an experiment. This is not
Right.
at all an investment on myself. I don't own any of the tokens. I don't plan to profit out of these tokens ever, or at least, yeah.
Hmm.
This is like not because I after saying this for months, some people still think like, oh, this is how you invest on Miguel. It is not. I've been
Yep.
saying that literally everywhere. With that said, I made a token. Literally, the first smart contract that I wrote, this was like the first Solidity that I wrote ever. I wrote and deployed this really simple ERC20 to
Cool.
play around with it. Also, like, I had been talking to Alex. I'm friends with Alex. He's my boss also. And that's where the inspiration mostly came from. Alex, by the way, has his own token, which he used to actually get some funds to move to SF and start a startup and all those things. I just saw that and thought, like, social tokens are probably going to be big
Hmm.
sometime. I don't have a date for that. Um, if I have one, I can play around with it. I can try to build tools around it. I can experiment. And if I don't, I can't. So that was the
Right.
whole reasoning against it. And I feel doing a bunch of interesting things with it. Recently, I just made like retroactive airdrop to Twitter followers. So for like
Cool.
a week, I made like a tweet that only the people that I followed could comment on, and it said
Hmm.
like, "Hey, if you want some Miguel tokens, drop your ENS or your wallet address in here, and I'll send you some." And I made it so that the longer that I had been following someone, the bigger amount of tokens they would get. I just sent all of those tokens, and I burned the rest of my supply. I feel
Wow.
like that's mildly interesting. I also set up like a voting thing on Snapshot.
Hmm.
We actually just finished the first vote, which was should I mint some Miguel tokens to send to the people that I'm also going to send the ENS to, just because it seems like a nice fun
Oh,
to
right.
do.
What was the outcome
Um,
of that vote?
yeah, literally everyone voted yes.
Oh, great.
So yeah, and I am planning to try that as an experiment of like I have a bunch of ideas that I want to build, have no real preference for which I build.
Hmm.
What do you think and stuff like that? Just like trying out stuff, experimenting with it. I feel like, in a sense, like I really, really dislike speculation, which doesn't seem to be that common in the space. Like people not really liking speculation. And basically, the thesis of a person or of a social token is that you
Hmm.
can add value to a token outside of the market, and the market will, in a way, update to reflect that.
Hmm.
And so basically, what I'm trying to do here, I guess, is I'm trying to do my very best to avoid that from happening, to see if it's inevitable or if there's a way for it not to happen. So I guess that's the experiment. It's just like a way for me to experiment with tools. It has my name because why not? It was either that or a shit post, and that way personal branding, I guess. Like now, when people watch Mike's wallet, they will see that he owns Miguel Piedrafita tokens, and maybe they will search me on Twitter and give me a
Yeah.
follow. It's
Yeah.
marketing, but yeah, just like random experiment.
Yeah, that's really really exciting. And so in terms of experiments and things that kind of pique your curiosity and then managing like a full-time role as an engineer like a founding engineer at Showtime, how does that work in terms of the fact that there are only 24 hours in a day and hopefully you don't spend all of them awake?
Yeah, I sometimes do, unfortunately.
Wait, what?
I've been trying to get a little better at like my schedule not being complete chaos,
Hmm.
but I've been trying. Like I feel like this past week in London where I actually like had an office to go to and had like to leave on reasonable times, except for like a day that I spent till 2 a.m. on the office, I've been like doing pretty well at
Hmm.
schedules. Any other week of the year, not that well. Like I said, for things like the dumb thing, I pulled a bunch of all nighters. Sometimes I will just like stay up until 11 a.m. coding, and then I will just like go to bed and wake up at 6 p.m. Chaos. I'm trying to get better. I'm like
Wow.
after London, I said I'm going to actually try this time. Going to, and so far like it's only been one day. So far today I woke up at like 10 a.m. and went to bed at 2. So I guess that's something. But the answer is
Okay.
like either not sleeping or sleeping less than I should, or just
Oh my
like
goodness.
staying in my room coding way too much. Because I'll get
Mhm.
some, like for example, on Friday, I think, Dom posted a tweet which was like some pseudocode for a NFT project that allowed you to resurrect burned NFTs.
Right.
And I literally like, I remember I was in the Abe office and I just like ran to my chair, sitting there, made the whole thing in like 10 minutes and shipped it out. It's because like I really wanted to be the first, so I speedrun the whole thing. So that's usually what happens when I have an idea, basically. Sometimes it's
Wow.
not as simple as to take 10 minutes and I spend half a day on it. Other days I'm just like obsessed for weeks. I have
Hmm.
a bunch of things on the pipeline that I have just like work on for weeks, and then I don't think I have touched in 2 months. And I will just like, I guess, open source at some point because I just don't care about those that much anymore. But yeah, just in general, when I get really really excited about something, I just like get a short of energy that I have to go waste on coding.
Hmm. Yeah. And so I wonder this idea that, when you're really excited about something, you can code for literally hours and hours. And this idea of flow state, I wonder in the years before Web3 when you were coding, was coding always like this for you? Or do you feel like you get kind of extra like mileage out of the inspiration in Web3?
Both. I mean, I definitely get really, really way more excited about Web3 than I've ever gotten
Mm-hmm.
about anything else in my life, at least on like the coding part.
Yeah.
Just because like it's not only there's exciting ideas literally everywhere. Like I always say you can take 2 steps in any direction and find yourself in an explored territory, like something that a place that never someone has even like tried to build something in there, which is
Mm-hmm.
really really exciting. But also like even ever since I started coding at 10, this was only always like a hobby for me. Like it took
Right.
me maybe 5 or 6 years to actually realize that I was putting literally hours every day on this, just because like I didn't realize it was just like what I did when I got from school, or what I did on the breaks from school at the library and stuff like that. And so I feel like it has always really really motivated me, and I guess I get into flow state easily for
Mm-hmm.
coding. Definitely not for anything else. Definitely not homework. But yeah, both, a little bit of both. Web3 is really really exciting. The whole community around it is like really really exciting. This whole whack me energy, this whole like everyone
Mm-hmm.
just like being able to find any other dev on Twitter and talk with them for hours about literally anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder also just this path for you going from school to where you are now in your role at Showtime, what were the steps there? And kind of, did you have a plan before Web3 that you were like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to like university and do CS, or did you kind of always think that you would just go kind of straight into work, or what did that look like for you?
Yeah. So fun thing in Europe, or at least in Spain, or at least in like middle class family Spain, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
not going to university is usually not an option.
Okay.
And like I guess this is like a really privileged thing to say, and I should like prefix it with that. But I went to it was like a semi-private school. I think where like it's a private school, but the state pays half of it, and it's like different
Mm-hmm.
from an actual private school. And they were like really really preparing you for university and nothing else, like the kind
Right.
of things where you like for years learn stuff that will only be useful in university, and when you ask why are we learning this, they just say like, oh, you'll need it for university, and no one ever thinks like not going to university is a possibility.
Right.
So of course I finished the thing by like feel like I had like no idea of how the equivalence between like education systems on the US and Spain. But like around 16, I guess,
Hmm.
I was like pretty confident that I would not need a career for what I wanted to do.
Right.
But I turned 18 and I had to go to university because I wasn't going to convince my parents that I didn't have to. And so I ended up going to the UK to study philosophy just because I thought if I'm going to go to a career that I'm then not going to use for anything, might as well go to an interesting one.
Wow.
And then COVID happened. I was literally
Right.
in a campus with no one there, classes online. I think I was there for like 3 months and didn't meet a single person in those
Oh
three
my
months.
goodness. Wow.
And so I just went back and semi dropped out, but not really, because I still had to pretend that I was attending classes online for my parents, but I totally didn't. And then that was like the start of the year when I started getting into Web3. By
Hmm.
March or so, it was like really, really clear that I wasn't going to go back to university like ever. I mean,
Right.
my parents still think that I'm going back at some point, maybe, but like I told them I would try this job thing for a year and then we'll see.
Okay. So this is
But
like the most productive gap year ever in the history of the world. Like you
but
just land a
yeah,
role
no,
as a
I'm
founding
not going
engineer at a
back, and I
startup.
feel like for now they know that. But my excuse for like I'm not going to be like messing around with doing my own projects and whatever I want was like I will get a job, and that way I'm actually like doing something. And
Hmm.
so I got a job. So that's basically the story.
Wow. Yeah. And I wonder, how do you think about education with all the tools that we have and, some of the platforms that we see popping up? And also just this idea of like play to earn and learn to earn and things like that, kind of thinking about your journey with um, like avoiding that traditional education path. Is there anything that really excites you about when you think about the future of education that could be unlocked with this technology?
I feel like the only way that I can truly learn about something is by building something, and
Hmm.
that's different for anyone, I guess. Like I know people who just like the only way they learn is actually going to study something and really memorizing it, and then they don't forget about it. And I don't understand how that works, but sure. I I have like my own entire argument about play to earn, but learn to earn is interesting. I have seen like rabbit hole and
Hmm.
all these things.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like sustainable as an actual education system. It works for like onboarding people to Web3. I don't think you could make like a high school that use that.
Hmm.
I I do feel like the future of education is definitely going to be personalizing education. Like for example, I've been wanting to learn music theory for years now, and I just like
Okay.
can't get myself to actually look at the books and actually like learn the old-fashioned way. I feel
Hmm.
like if there were an app that allowed you to like log in with Spotify and then it teach you like musical theory stuff just by using the songs that you like, I
Hmm.
would probably learn the whole thing in less than a month.
Right.
And I feel like that's the way for everything. Like I literally have this book in here called A Programmer's Introduction to Mathematics, which is just like the whole complex mathematics stuff, but actually
Right.
explained using code and algorithms. And I usually found the math classes really, really boring. And then I
Hmm.
found this book which explained those things and even more things with code. And I think I read it in like a week. Just because like
Wow.
you have to find the thing that interests people.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. You can probably teach a bunch of things using Fortnite, I guess.
Right.
And that would be like that's how you get people to actually want to learn in their free time and not have learning be an imposed thing that you do. I am fortunate to like really, really enjoy learning and reading. And so I really enjoy like literature classes, but I have friends that really, really hated those. And so
Yeah.
yeah, you have to personalized education, and we have the technology to do this. We just like have
Yeah.
education is such a regulated thing that we haven't been able to, at least in Europe, we haven't been able to actually put all these things to a test. But I feel like for most things, we can probably find an angle that each person really likes, and then use that to expand into everything else. And
Yeah.
this is like not
That's
related to Web3 at all, I guess, but it's still a thing that I really, really strongly hold.
Yeah, I mean, the hope of Web3 is that even just this ability to think very expansively and creatively about sectors like education, even if it's not a Web3 solution, will end up kind of bettering the space for a lot of people. So I wonder, just thinking about your identity and how you think about like who you are and what you do. I feel like traditionally there's this like separation. Even if you're a dev, you like work for a company, you have a job, you go home, you might have hobbies that are either related or not related, and there is this like massive separation. But something I'm personally finding is this like bleeding of all of my identities into a single identity in Web3. So how do you feel about like who you are in this space?
Yeah, I don't know. I carried away like my one-liner has always been AIDS indie maker, just because that's what carried away from what I was doing before,
Mm-hmm.
which was just like making random apps, and I guess that was indie maker community things. Um, I've had this discussion with a bunch of people now, which like I've been playing the AIDS card for way too long, and I should probably stop that as personal branding because like it worked really really well when I was like launching apps at 16. I feel like by 20 it's a little bit impressionable, or it just like feels weird to self-describe yourself as that. So I've been thinking about like what do I use now, like how can I describe
Mm-hmm.
myself, because I've like my usual thing is just like I say AIDS indie maker working at this, and then I list a bunch of projects and I say like at least on Twitter I tweet about these things, and then Genshin
Mm-hmm.
Mafia just because I wanted to fill in there. But yeah, I've been trying to figure out that myself. I don't have like a nice one liner to describe me. I'm actually like really really bad at like we just had an interview with someone at Showtime, and Alex
Mm-hmm.
actually like wrote my introduction for me because I'm really bad at those. Like not actually wrote, but we discussed it on Telegram, and he actually wrote the thing that I ended up saying. I don't think he was aware that I reused that. But yeah, I'm figuring that out. I don't know. My usual explainer is just like, "Hi, I'm Miguel. I build things." So
Yeah.
maybe I should use that. I don't know. I feel like that doesn't really communicate anything. But yeah, still figuring that out. Hopefully, we'll rebrand before my birthday or before next year. But
When
we'll
is
see.
your birthday? What
March. I
month is
still
it?
have a bunch of time.
Oh, right. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's really exciting. I feel like it's definitely, with everything being so experimental and changeable in this space, it's funny because like, you know, a LinkedIn bio, you could like write it and leave it for a decade and there's no expectation that it would change. And in Web3, like from week to week, you don't know like what will define your experience or your brand in the space. Like you might release a project next week and then everyone's like, oh yeah, Miguel, you know, he did this thing.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I
yeah.
feel like my brand is at this point more my tweets and my avatar than it is my actual description.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I have no idea how to turn that into an actual description. So
No, I think proof of work is kind of the thing that carries the most weight in this space, and you're one of the best um, at building in public and providing proof of work. So that's really exciting. Thank you so much, Miguel. This was really great to talk to you, and I am so excited that you're in the space and that you're constantly creating. And yeah, really excited to watch you in Web3 over the next couple of years.
thank you. Really, really enjoyed this actually.